Hello guys, this is What About Nintendo, and today I'm here to talk about what improvements are needed most from a Nintendo Switch Pro. Which parts of the hardware need to be upgraded the most to get the most performance out of a Switch Pro. That's what we're going to talk about today, so let's get right on into it. The Nintendo Switch is a fine system in its own right, the most powerful handheld from the big three by far, and a monster in its own way. However, as a console, it is very subpar, and as it aims to offer console quality experiences at home or on the go, it falls short in many areas, and thus the want for a Switch Pro has arisen. A more powerful Switch that gets us closer to the dedicated home consoles like the Xbox One and PS4, while maintaining the hybrid nature that has made the Switch so popular. However, in what ways does the Switch Pro actually need to upgrade over what we have in the original Switch, and over even the new Switch revision that is currently being rolled out? That is what I'm here to talk about today, so let's get into it. In order to identify what the biggest improvements are needed for the Nintendo Switch Pro, we must figure out what the biggest bottleneck is for the Nintendo Switch. I think if you asked most people what the biggest bottleneck of the Nintendo Switch is, they'd probably say the GPU, as that's pretty much what most people know the most. That's what most people are the most aware of, the GPU, the graphics processing unit. And it makes sense, as the Nintendo Switch only has a max of around 400 gigaflops during docked play. The Switch is less than half as capable as the Xbox One at 1.3 teraflops or 1300 gigaflops. And of course, the Xbox One is the weakest dedicated home console on the market, so really against all the other ones like the PS4, and especially the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, it is just way behind. Or maybe some would bring up the RAM. At only 4 gigabytes of RAM and a measly 25.6 gigabytes per second of bandwidth on that RAM, this is a major bottleneck compared to the Xbox One's 8 gigabytes of RAM with 68 gigabytes per second of bandwidth, paired with a small amount of extremely fast ES-RAM at 204 gigabytes per second to boost speeds, so it's even higher than that in actual use cases. However, both of these are areas in which the Xbox One itself is actually significantly pared back compared to the PS4. In fact, the GPU on the base PS4 is 72% faster than that of the Xbox One, and the RAM is actually 2.5 times faster when not considering that very small ES-RAM that boosts the Xbox One I mentioned before. And as we've seen, the graphics in games on the Xbox One actually gets reasonably close to that of the PS4 despite these drawbacks. In my opinion, this is due to what I consider to be the true bottleneck of the Nintendo Switch, the biggest thing holding the Switch back, and that is actually the CPU. You see, the Xbox One and PS4 actually have the exact same CPU setup, albeit I believe at slightly higher clocks than the Xbox One. This is what has been allowing the Xbox One to get away with simply lowering resolution and some slight graphics settings and getting away with a similar enough experience compared to PS4. However, on the Nintendo Switch, the CPU is simply far less capable than both of those systems. A 4-core A57 setup running at just over 1 GHz, and compared to the PS4 and Xbox One's 8-core Jaguar processor at 1.6 GHz on PS4 and 1.75 GHz on Xbox One. With Switch only having half the cores and running 75% slower per core, that's a whopping 3.5 times boost to performance, excluding any other differences that may also be there, like more instructions per clock, cache sizes, or more, which could make that gap even bigger. What's worse is that CPU settings are actually ones that affect the core gameplay more than any other settings. You want to lower GPU usage? Well, just lower that resolution and pare back the shadows or something like that. You want to lower RAM usage? Lower texture resolution and overall game resolution fixes that very nicely. Want to lower CPU usage, however, that requires a lot more. Maybe rendering less enemies on screen, using less advanced simulation, or for the most part things that just make the actual gameplay itself worse, like simply having the frame rate. Now you can free up the CPU with other methods, but this is not even close to as easy as it is for the GPU or the RAM. People who are heavy PC gamers know this very well. When it comes down to it, it's often required to get a CPU upgrade, rather than being able to just simply go into your graphics menu and change some settings. And with how far behind the CPU is on the Switch compared to even the base PS4 and Xbox One, well, this simply just doesn't work. And thanks to Digital Foundry, we actually have proof of this being the case. They have overclocked the Switch to find out that the main bottleneck in most games they tested was indeed actually the CPU itself, with the RAM being the second major bottleneck, and only after fixing one or even both of those was the GPU actually usually the bottleneck. So in terms of what improvements are most important for a Switch Pro, I'd say CPU first, RAM second, and GPU actually last, surprisingly enough. This confirms what I've been saying about the new Switch revision not being anywhere near a Switch Pro, as it only has a potential improvement in the GPU side, which in many of the big AAA games like Doom, Breath of the Wild, and Wolfenstein have been proven not to be the bottleneck. And in fact, solely overclocking the GPU rarely produced any improvements at all. However, the CPU on that new Switch, and in fact the normal Switch if you don't take into account heat or battery life, could be pushed to its full clocks of 1.75 GHz at all times while using less power than it would on the regular Switch. But without addressing the other bottlenecks, this will do nothing more than make the frame rate smoother in games that are majorly CPU bound, which while being nice is still not worthy of that Switch Pro moniker. However, we're in luck, as Nvidia has actually made huge improvements in the CPU and RAM side of things on their mobile chips, rather than focusing solely on GPU, which has made some improvements, but they've really gone hard into the CPU and RAM side of things. The Tegra X2, for example, has RAM around as fast as the Xbox One, with 8GB of RAM at 58GB per second, and the Xavier has RAM nearing the PS4 with 137GB per second. CPU improvements in mobile chips have also been a huge point for Nvidia, since they are going into AI tech, which requires significant CPU improvements at low voltages, whereas GPU is only slightly better than the new Switch revision in the X2, and the Xavier can only reach Xbox One levels if pushed to its 30-watt mode, which is twice as much power draw as the Switch's 15 watts during dock gameplay. However, it also uses a bunch of AI tech the Switch doesn't need, so a custom chip would draw less power, but still probably be above that 15-watt threshold. Therefore, in conclusion, we have hope that Nvidia and Nintendo could work together to make a custom chip for a Switch Pro that would fix the major bottlenecks, the CPU and the RAM on the Switch, while also giving a good boost to GPU as well. 2 to 3 times boost is the max, I'm thinking, if they want to stay under 15 watts, which would get us significantly closer to PS4 and Xbox One power, and could allow for the potential of 60 frames per second performance modes on games like Doom and Wolfenstein, and even open up the possibility of a 60 FPS mode in Breath of the Wild or its sequel. So yeah guys, those are my opinions on the biggest technical changes we need to see for the Nintendo Switch Pro. However, if you have your own opinions and thoughts, of course, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what all you guys think about it. Yeah guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell icon for notifications of all my videos so you don't miss out on any other tech-focused or general Nintendo-focused content coming out from this channel. Also, make sure to share this video with everyone you know who's interested in Nintendo and tech-type videos. And I'll see all you guys later on What About Nintendo. Bye!